So the expectation level gets set by on-the-job training, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, when you show
Yeah.
up, you know, okay, that's the expectation. And
But you get a mentor. If you're a new banker and you're bringing a deal in, like when we went through the NBC merger, all those guys, I sat down with each one of them and said, okay, here's how you do it. Here's how we go. And then I hooked them up with somebody from their respective, a respective peer. So if it was an ag deal, I hooked them up with Levi Getz or somebody. And if it was a commercial deal, we hooked them up with somebody here in Wichita, Kansas City, to where they could sort of practice ahead of time. So when they came into loan committee for the first time, they had a really good idea what to do and how to do it. Now they just fly solo.
right.
Yeah, we don't feed them to the wolves.
Well, you know, there's a lot of that, say, feeding to the wolves on the job training that I think is tremendously valuable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it depends on the kind of person, right? I mean, I like that. Some may not. They want to be fully prepared. Do you have
It depends on the on the job training piece. Depends for me on who the communication is with. I don't advocate for on the job training as the primary source when we're dealing with customers, because you make mistakes with on the job training.
yes.
And now if you're customer facing and you're not well trained, it manifests itself in unhappy customers. Okay. And that happens from time to time as we grow. But behind the scenes, if it's a young banker visiting with Rick, on the job training is fine, because Rick's not going to beat him up. Rick's going to coach him up and help him out and do the things that a leader does, and that can be very beneficial. So depending upon the discipline, we do a lot of on the job training because we're growing fast, and we have that type of situation presents itself. But when it comes to customer facing folks, we need to put our best foot forward right off the bat.
I agree completely. I'll use the analogy of my dad used to always talk about they practice 6 days to play the seventh day.
Exactly.
You know, and so that
Exactly.
I guess that's what I mean about on the job training, which is so cool. There's a brain trust here, just like you went through all these other folks within the equity universe that are so talented that you can call and say, hey, let me run an idea by you, or I'm going to go meet with somebody maybe for the first time. Can you help me? And to have your expertise, to have Rick's expertise, to be able to put somebody through the drills, so to speak, before they actually play on Sunday.
Yeah. Well, you said something there, Brandon, that I think is really true. When you look at Equity Bank, and I'll rattle off a whole bunch of names, but there is an incredible amount of talent. There's an incredible amount of banking knowledge, and you got a bunch of folks that work hard. So you got Brad, and you got Rick, and you got Mark Parman, Christoph as a chief credit officer for as early as he is in his career is simply outstanding. Chris Navratil, same thing. You know, he's a young CFO, but he's an outstanding CFO.
Indeed.
And you look around the organization and you see these type, Jonathan Rook, you see these type of people, Brett Reber, that have such an incredible skill set, and every one of them is willing to share it. And it's wonderful. And, you know, we're not perfect as an organization, but we have folks that care. We have folks that care about the people. And so as a young banker, everybody's got an open door policy. You can go in and talk to anybody, anytime about anything. And they should. These young guys and gals should do that. I think it's a tremendous opportunity for them to learn. And one of the things that I've always enjoyed and appreciated about this bank is within reason, we don't care whose answer it is as long as it's the best answer. And I tell our folks when I get the chance, what we really care about is who's got the best answer. If Brandon has the best answer, let's go with that one. If Rick Sims has the best answer, let's go with that one. Now, sometimes somebody else gets to figure out what the best answer is. Okay, that's how life works. But at the end of the day, what we really care about is not whose answer it is, but what is the best answer. And what that does is it keeps your shop clean, it keeps your customers happy, it keeps your employees healthy. It does all the things that are necessary. When you get ego creep and it's got to be my way and not your way, it's when problems begin to develop.
The I care values, A is for accountability.
Yep.
And I think that's exactly, we're all accountable. And we know, hey, listen, we're going to come to you no matter where you are or tenure or experience. You have a good idea. We might use your idea. So be prepared. And I think that creates accountability.
It does. Accountability, when you talk about I care, accountability is an interesting, to me, it's one of the most interesting ones in that acronym. There's a very basic definition of accountability. I spilled my cup of coffee, I got to clean it up. Okay, that's me being accountable for my actions. There's another level of accountability, which is what you just described, and that is everybody owning the process of making each one of us better. When you take a bank like Brad did in 2003 from $30 million in assets to where we are today, if you don't have accountability every step of the way, you're going to have a big old mess on your hands. There's a lot of ways in which accountability manifests itself. One of them is the basic one, but there's more to it than that. It's also being responsible for making sure those around you are better, for making sure that the decisions that we're making for shareholders, that we all own those, that the decisions that we're making for our communities, for our employees, for sure, all of that goes into that bucket. It's not just the basics. There's a lot of meat on that bone, and I actually think we do it very well.
Yeah, agreed. And it does, I think, take time for, if you've worked at a corporation, a larger bank, a larger anything, and it's kind of, stay where you are in lots of cases. You come to Equity Bank and it's like, no, we need you to lean forward and lean into, I know I can make this happen better. And you said earlier, an open door policy. That's, I think, why Who Builds Equity, having these conversations is so important, because what you're sharing with our entire audience, our entire Equity Bank team, is everyone is accessible and they really actually want to hear your ideas.
They do. And not only that, one of the things that I'm fascinated with about Equity Bank, primarily I'm going to talk about Brad and Rick here, is both of them have, as you know, Brandon, have bandwidth that stretches to a national level. I mean, these guys live and work in Wichita, Kansas, but they could live and work on Wall Street if they wanted to. But what's fascinating about it is they will take as much time as they possibly can to spend with people who haven't had those experiences yet. New employees or employees transferring into new roles that may not have the confidence in their new role yet. It doesn't matter. They're accessible, they care, and they make themselves available to all of us, which I think is really, really cool.
So let's talk about your history with Equity Bank, because I believe your history started out as a board member.
It did. Actually, my history with Equity Bank started off as a customer.
As a customer, even better.
It is even better. Brad and the team were building the bank, had just bought the bank, and Brad and I were introduced to each other when I was CEO of Value Place. And we were growing our hotel company quickly, and we needed a bank that understood, this is going to sound cliche, but I promise you it wasn't. We needed a bank that understood entrepreneurs. Value Place was a quintessential entrepreneurial company, owned primarily by Jack DeBoer. Jack and I were partners in that venture. We were building hotels quickly, and we needed a bank that could hang with us. And turns out it was Brad Elliott. Brad became our primary bank. We did that from 2004-ish to 2011. And then at that point in time, I came on Brad's board. So my first direct interactions, not as a customer, was as a director. That's correct.
Wow. When Brad asked you to be on the board, was it an easy decision?
Oh, yeah.
Because of your customer experience?
Yeah. My customer experience was exceptional. I don't know that I would change a single thing about it. He took time to understand our business. I think we did a nice job of delivering to him information that he could decision one way or the other. We tried never to bring him a deal that we didn't think he could do, so he didn't have to tell us no. I don't recall being rejected, but a lot of that was a two-way street. It was because Brad understood our business and knew what to do with it. And our business was niche. Our business looked like a hotel, but didn't function like a hotel necessarily, kind of functioned a little bit like an apartment project. Brad understood all of that and was able to take on our debt and manage our debt and understand what we were doing. And so it was a great relationship. And yeah, it made the going on as a director about the easiest thing ever.
Did you see it as, okay, now we're just going to take the customer experience, because you just said I wouldn't change a thing about that, and scale it, which is, here we are 15 years later.
The customer experience is individual, and every single customer has to have an experience like I had, which is our equity bankers need to make every customer feel like they are the only customer. Brad was growing his bank. We have, tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of customers now, but our best customers are the ones that believe that Equity Bank, no matter how big we are, that they are what matters most when their business is at hand. And it's a simple form. It's hard to execute on because we're busy. There's a line at the teller line. There's a line in the lobby. There's a line in the waiting room. Pick your spot. And so it's hard to deliver that. But I encourage all of us to recognize that every single customer, no matter how many we have, is the most important customer at that time. If we don't focus on that, we will lose customers. That's the opportunity that presents itself. When banks don't take care of their customers, it provides Equity Bank an opportunity to go in and build our customer base, because it really is just fundamental. It's treating people right. It's providing them answers and solutions. It's providing them service. It's acknowledging our mistakes when we make them. We make mistakes as bankers. We make mistakes as a bank. We don't run every transaction the right way. We don't handle every communication the right way. That's because we're human beings. Customers will let you get by with that if you acknowledge it, fix it, move on, apologize if necessary, and let them know that that we care and that they are important.
Yeah, so being entrepreneurial, that has been consistent through the life of Equity Bank, and I see that through our culture. I have the privilege of going to all of our bank offices, and you see it when you walk in the door, a similar experience.
One of the experiences that we're having in Oklahoma right now with having been through the merger of the new offices is there's a lot of customers that have tentacles that reach other customers. Okay. We're used to that in our legacy locations because we know who they are. But I haven't, I'll go to Oklahoma City and I'll talk to somebody and their kids bank with us, and their kids may be our age, but their family members bank with us, their neighbors bank with us, their business partners bank with us. And so you don't know when that person walks in, do they have one checking account or do they represent 101 checking accounts?
This is where organic growth, because like you're talking about, that person may represent 100 checking accounts because of the tentacles, as you say. And so our organic growth opportunities are natural at that point, because they're going to continue to come. And as long as we're then taking it to that next level, which is asking, not only are you helped right now, but is there something going on in your bank relationship with us that we can improve upon? Or do you have a relationship with another institution that perhaps we can improve upon? Don't be afraid to ask to take those dollars away from other institutions, because they really have them there out of habit, as opposed to, I really ought to give them to Greg because he and his team do such a better job.
Yeah. It used to be, I think this is still true, the average life of a checking account's about 7 years. I haven't heard the most recent number for a year or so, but that, it's about 7 years, which means that it's very difficult to get people to move accounts. They typically move because of a change in family status, the passing of a loved one, a divorce. I moved out of the house. I moved to a different city. Their circumstances change. The biggest reason beyond that is they're unhappy. Once they're unhappy, they're probably not coming back, at least anytime soon. And so that works two ways. Keep our current customers happy by doing all the basics. And like you just said, Brandon, when we have an opportunity to interact with them, let them know that we would love to have their business and more of their business and anybody else's business that they would like to bring to us.
Oklahoma, you've got your arms around your arms around a lot of our footprint, all of our footprint, just because of the things that you were the CFO of our institution. You took us public, which that's a completely different episode, and I hope we can talk about that sometime.
If we do that, and I would love to, let's do it with Brad.
Oh, that'd be great.
Brad and I were joined at the hip for, I don't know, 15 to 18 months.
And you still like each other.
We do, and I think he still has all my credentials in his phone. It was like having a parent. It's really good.
Oh, I think that's an incredibly enjoyable experience. But this actually goes to, you have represented what other opportunities for people exist here at Equity Bank, meaning you've moved to so many different roles to make change, affect change of Equity Bank and our success. Let's talk about opportunities that exist for those out there with our current team that want to rise up and those that want to improve where they are, and also for opportunities that we can attract others that want to be part of this incredible entrepreneurial experience.
Yeah, starts with hard work. It starts and it finishes with hard work. I come to town on Wednesday nights usually, so I can be in loan committee in person on Thursday. I have nothing better to do, so I come in early. And as early as I come in, Rick Sims is always here. Okay, so Rick and Brad set the example for hard work in this organization. I tell my kids, I tell young people, I tell student athletes, when I get a chance to visit with folks, if you really want to move up, if you really want to expand your opportunities, it starts with hard work. And anybody can control hard work. You don't need anybody to show you how to work hard. Just start working hard. Come in early, work through lunch hours, pack your lunch, eat at your desk, stay a little later, raise your hand and ask for more work to do. Use your idle time for things that are going to make you a better banker if that's what you're interested in doing. But on a list of things that matter the most, hard work is probably number one, number two, and number three. Continuing ed, spend your time learning about things. Banking is for being a relatively simple term, it's actually a pretty complicated business. I love our mantra, we never forget it's your money. There's a lot to unpack there as well. People are very personal with their money, and we have to understand that. So the more a person wants to grow and the more a person wants to expand and have opportunities, they need to be very knowledgeable in what they're doing. And it's very difficult because every time you start something new, and you can use me as an example. I went to Oklahoma a year ago, and I had not of all the things I had done at Equity Bank, I hadn't run an area, I hadn't run a region, and so I've been learning my tail off, right, and making mistakes along the way too. And so I appreciate those folks that have tolerated me, which is those above me and those around me, and it's been nice to have a little grace along the way, and we all need that. It's difficult because you can't be as good at what you want to do as what you have done, and yet you got to go take that step anyway. But that's where I think our culture helps out, because we have people who are willing to help you be successful. So don't hesitate. If you're watching this and you're a young person, I love Rick's deal. I saw it on his episode. Basically it's be good where you are right now, and good things will happen. Work hard, be good where you are, maximize where you are, and things are going to come your way.
I think you're a testament to the fact that we can try new things, and you can still succeed I mean, it is pretty remarkable what you've done
thank you.
down in Oklahoma.
Well,
and so
I got to tell you, the team in Oklahoma, seriously, they get credit for that. It's a lot of change for those folks. It was time for NBC to find a partner. I'm glad it was us. It was time for us to grow Oklahoma. I'm glad it was them. And so it's a wonderful relationship. But the leaders and the folks in Oklahoma that have stuck through the merger, they are the ones, Brandon, that get all of the credit for that. It's been very difficult. Nebraska will go through the same thing. It is so worth it to get to the other side of that. It takes a few months to get to the other side of learning new systems and learning a new culture and learning about the teams that Brad and Rick have put in place. It's so worth the journey to hang in there. And I could not be more proud of the people in Oklahoma for doing that. They're doing well, and they're going to do even better, but they get the credit for that. They're the ones that had to get up every morning and go in and say, okay, today isn't what I was used to a few months ago, but I'm going to go do it anyway and give this a chance, and they're doing great.
I'm so glad that you said that it's worth going through the hard times, because often when we have that day where we go, you think, oh, there's just another bank. No, there isn't. Not for the opportunity to succeed and grow where you are, or to actually move into different roles as you have in this organization. So I'm so glad that you talked about that. And you were an athlete at the highest level in college. And I think, long after college as well. And, maybe you don't get to play tennis as much anymore. But there's a beautiful tennis center at your alma mater because of your hard work. So that's really special. But the fact is, you've coached your children through athletics, maybe primarily as the lesson too. It's worth it, because when you get on the other side, look how much fun it is to succeed and to grow as a human being.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same kind of feeling that you have right here at Equity Bank.
It is. And Brad and I, have this saying that I like, and I think we're proud of it. And that is, we ask folks along the way, would you prefer to win, or do you like to win, or do you hate to lose? And Brad and I raise our hand and say we hate to lose. Okay. And there's things to think about there, and I'm happy to have that conversation as well. But if you hate to lose, then you're going to come back, as you just said, Brandon, the next day, and you're going to tie your shoelaces up, and you're going to go out again and not let that happen. Okay. And if you love to win, there's a satisfaction that goes with it, but it's temporary. If you hate to lose, it never goes away. Okay. And the opposite of losing is winning. So if you hate to lose, you're going to keep winning kind of no matter what, as long as you keep trying at some point. And that's the secret. And so, it's a fun thing. It's a fun bank, Equity Bank, to be a part of, to do the things that Brad and the team have done now for 25 years almost. It creates opportunities for everybody involved. Okay. When you get into a situation where your company is not growing, then opportunities are not growing either, other than when somebody leaves. But if you're building assets and you're building locations and you're growing regions and you're doing those types of things, everybody has an opportunity to participate. And I got to tell you, that's what makes it coming in. That from the employee side, that's what's fun every day. Every single day, you get to talk to people knowing in the back of your mind that their future at this bank is really what they want it to be. I mean, there really are no limits, and it's kind of up to us. So we should take advantage of that.
Senior Regional CEO at the moment, Greg Kossover. Thanks for joining us on Who Builds Equity.
Yep.
I'm glad to know you, my friend.
Brandon, it's always a pleasure to spend time with you.
Make it a great one.
Yeah, take care.